Hello everyone, I'm Sai from Zuper, heading the partner operations here at Zuper. It's a pleasure to join this webinar alongside David from ECS and Shailendu from APPSeCONNECT. Thanks for having me here. And so Zuper stands as a premier field service management software, basically amplifying the productivity and the utilization of our customers' field teams. And our platform kind of streamlines the work order management, scheduling the jobs, invoicing, dispatching, managing their assets and contracts, and kind of optimizes the entire service management journey of our customers. Built on pillars of basically on flexibility and customization, Zuper offers no-code workflows, intelligent automations, and comprehensive end-to-end capabilities as well, specific to field service management. Our key strength lies in adaptability and seamless integration with diverse ecosystems, basically. So when we say diverse ecosystems, it's about kind of within our customer tech stacks, including the service ticketing solutions, CRM, ERP, accounting, and kind of inventory systems and everything. So what is our ultimate aim? So it is to empower customers with very optimized solutions that makes them to deliver the best customer experiences. And with channel partners like ECS and APPSeCONNECT, we ensure seamless end-to-end solutions, integrating Zuper kind of harmoniously within the customer's IT landscape, and to elevate their experiences, basically the customer experiences. So our mission is to Zuperize field workforces, ensuring the right person at the right place with the right knowledge, the right tools at the right time, every time, and delight customers in every interaction, basically. So this commitment has earned us recognition as leaders in the FSM space, the field service management space, across G2 and cross-desk reports continuously every year. So thank you for having me. Let's continue to elevate field service management together.
Welcome everybody to this webinar. It's been an effort at APPSeCONNECT to bring innovative solutions, with our partners. And this is one such session where we are bringing in innovative solution by ECS, one of our partners, on top of SAP Business One. SAP Business One is a very powerful application, but field service management and knowing the profitability of, the service contract is one area where, Dave has worked a great deal on it. So just a very quick introduction. I'm Shailendu. I'm co-founder at APPSeCONNECT. Dave, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, and I'm David Gerbis. I'm a VP at ECS and involved with partners like Shailendu and APPSeCONNECT.
Great. So I'll just set up the context, Dave, for our audience. So as I was telling, SAP Business One, very popular solution in the SMB market. I think it's like the most popular, I would say, offering by SAP in the segment, with 78,000 plus install base. And then we have, a gap as far as field service is concerned. And Zuper is one such emerging solutions, a SaaS-based, field management solution, along with the add-on that Dave has developed on SAP itself, native to SAP, which is called ProcECS. And we are going to talk a lot about, what it can do and how this integration brings value to any service organization.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Shailendu. So let me kind of show you what we're doing at ECS. When you look here, this is a visual representation of SAP Business One. It's the data, it's the documents, it's the interconnectability between the data and the documents, it's the reporting. All that is encompassed and networked all together. What I've found, though, with service, and I've been involved with service for many, many years, is service doesn't really fit necessarily in many of the systems out there that I've seen. It doesn't fit well. It doesn't connect. And as a result, you lose the power of an ERP system. You lose the reporting. You lose the connectability. And that's been across all systems that I've looked at. So I've always wanted to do something that connected service, utilized all the processes, utilized the data, and allowed you to see how you're performing. How are you doing with service? So what we did is we developed what we call ProcECS. It's a division, but it's a methodology too of how we handle the things that we develop. So first of all, the characteristics are it's scalable. We have a very lightweight approach to developing products. It leverages the big data that's within inside the system. So with today's technology, for example, with SAP, they have in-memory HANA processing. You can do things you weren't capable of doing in the past, and you can do it at a touch of a button. It's process-driven. So we're thinking through how do you step through the process so it's not disconnected and easy for the users to do. We create one-click automations to keep that process flowing. So the idea is create a click and do multiple things at one time that keep the process flowing. And in the end, what I think is really important is that interface, what the user sees is very familiar because it's built with inside of SAP. So we're trying to keep everything inside of SAP so it's easy for the user. You're not learning something completely new.
So it just kind of sits right within SAP Business One and is basically very familiar to what people are already doing as their day-to-day job there.
That's correct, Lindu. So you're able to, we're trying to be very intuitive to what they're doing. So I've been over some businesses. Sometimes it's challenging when you bring something new in. We want to try to avoid as much challenge of implementation as possible. And our approach, though, is with that, with SAP, it's a powerhouse in what it does in ERP. It's an ERP system. It has all that interconnectability and the analytics. But I would say that something like a field service solution like Zuper has the mobility. It has some of the unique characteristics that bring its strength. But one of the challenges you have is when you're connecting two systems together, how do you keep what I'll title the DNA of the system when you do that? How do you keep and encode what you have in SAP and transfer it to Zuper and back again so that you are reporting and getting the analytics and the information you need from the entire system? So what I'm going to show you today is a process. The process is our one-click service, and this is going to be a specific one to contracts. So we're just going to show we have many different processes within our service, but we'll show you how the service contract process works. So the idea is that in SAP, you start with the business partner. And on this slide, what you're seeing is the business partner and all their information. And we've added a couple of buttons, really simple. One is to create a quote. One's to invoice a quote. And in this situation, there's a primary contract that oversees all this. So for this situation, you hit a button and it creates a contract under the situation for this customer. But there's also, we are allowed to have kind of a very much a flexibility in how this is created. So every customer has kind of a unique situation. This is one scenario of how they do the contracts. You click the button, it creates a quote. The quote goes out to the customer. The quote includes mandatory services that have to be on the contract. It creates optional services. But in the end, the customer gets the quote. It's sent out in a quote form. It comes back. You hit that invoice button, and it's invoiced. And you create a service contract. The service contract is defined by the terms. You could have those terms at the line level. Each individual service item could be the same or different terms, but in the end, you have a contract that governs how you do service with that BP or business partner. One additional thing we did, because we get asked about this a lot, especially from the accounting team, is how do you handle deferred revenue? So I just figured I'd show this, that At a touch of a button, we create the deferred revenue schedules. It's all done at a granular level. So when you click the button, it's actually assembled at the moment you click. So there's no tables, there's nothing to look at. It's all interactive. So you're not bogging down the system, and it's all very ties to the financial statements. So that's one of the things that we've provided in the system.
And this is the thing that we were discussing, Dave, earlier, right? And this is probably my favorite piece of the entire solution is how it does the deferred revenue recognition. I cannot believe that any company which has like a huge volume of service contract, they would be able to do, accurate accounting without having this kind of a feature.
Yes, I mean, there's really nothing there's available products out there. They don't connect necessarily to service, and it's challenging. This is a very challenging calculation. It's usually left to the accounting team. It's usually left to them to calculate. You look at this contract or this customer, this particular customer has 25,000 contracts, 20 lines per contract. There's 500,000 lines that each need to be deferred individually. We're handling all that. So yes, I mean, it's quite a laborious task if you didn't have something like this. So I appreciate that. So at this point, we're talking about the integration with SAP and Zuper, and we've shown primarily SAP. And the concept here is we're trying to make them indistinguishable in terms of how they work together. So when you're looking at SAP service, you're using Zuper. When you're using Zuper, you're using SAP. So, but here's where they connect together. So we've gone through and they have a service contract, and now it's time to do a service call. So we have a video here that shows you how that works. You have a business partner in this scenario that's under contract, and they need a service call. The service call in this case is set up. And here is the same business partner in Zuper. That call right now does not exist. And what we're going to do is just enter the job. So we entered the call, and it's going to sync to Zuper. And in Zuper, you just go ahead and you'll end up refreshing the page. So we wait for the page to refresh, and the call shows up. We want this to just be really seamless and not anything too complicated. But under the surface, we have embedded all this information that we talked about earlier. All the DNA of the call, everything we need to know has been transferred to Zuper. So Zuper has that. It's all under the surface. And then you're done. Zuper invoices the call, it comes back to SAP, and that call's done. The real power, though, of the system at this point is our analytics. So you can do renewals here, but we're going to show the analytics of what we've just done. So here's a video. We're pulling up the primary agreement, which covers multiple agreements. Those agreements have profitability. You click the profitability, you drill into the contracts. The contracts that are under that primary agreement show up. You then get individual calls that show up under the primary agreements. And then you can click the individual calls and get literally down to the parts used on a particular call. So when you're looking at profitability, when you're looking at how much you're making, or hopefully not losing, but possibly losing on a contract, you can drill in at a touch of a button and see what makes up those numbers. So here's we did that really quick. You see how quickly that went, but this is all we did on that previous screen. It showed that you can drill in from the highest levels and go right down to the actual invoices. And by the way, that's all real time. It's happening. Whatever's happened the moment you hit the button is being captured. It has all the primary agreement information. It has contract level agreement, call level agreement. Everything is a click away. And the things that we showed on here are also just a sampling of what we can do. We can do loaners. We can calculate shipping costs. We can calculate anything that you're doing and invoicing out for the call is captured. So this is an example of how the system comes together and at the end provides analytics so that you can see how your contracts are performing. So just in conclusion, we wanted to show that integration. I've had a really great experience over my experience with APPSe and Shalindu have been almost 15 years. They're a great partner. What makes this all work is the partnership. And we started about a little less than a year ago with Zuper. Zuper's software is really impressive. It's easy to use, it's friendly, and in fact, when we showed them this design, in addition to all the awards APPSe has won and all the awards Zuper has won, Zuper this past year awarded us with the Partner of the Year for technical excellence in design. So they really like this type of system. So I just wanted to conclude with that, and thank you. And Shalindu, where do you want to go next?
Dave, before I let you go, I have few things that I need to ask you on behalf of the audience. So one of the things, I know that, we have been running process on various SAP customers, right? What are some key learnings that you see, or what are the main things, the observation that you have about the service contract profitability?
The things that I noticed, I've done even before I was consulting and doing work with ECS, is that I was doing my own consulting work, and I happened to actually do a lot of different companies that did service. And one of the things that I found, the ones that at ERP could not tell you whether the service was profitable, and if they could, they didn't know by how much. They had no visibility. If they had contracts, they couldn't tell you how they were performing. And a lot of them wanted to do something like a service contract, but their concern was, what's the cost? How do I know if it's doing well? And that was kind of the idea here, is how do we show you, not a year into the contract, but a couple of months or half a year, how are your contracts performing? You need to adjust your primary contract. You need to do something different. You may be locked in to the existing contracts, but it allows you to change and adapt quickly when you see how it's performing, right? So that's one of the things that I've really noticed.
Usually a conception or assumption is that large customers are the most profitable one. Is that what you see with clients that you're working with?
It's a double-edged sword with the larger contract, because if you do well with it, you're locked in, and if you don't, you're locked in. And so I had some experience with that, where the assumption from a legacy system had them believing that their largest customer was profitable and doing well, and some of the other customers weren't as profitable. And one of the things we uncovered doing this exact system is it was actually the opposite. It was actually their smaller customers and some that were really contributing to the bottom line, and the larger customers were taking away. And we found a number of things that were contributing to that, including things that they weren't responsible for, but they were going out and doing service work on. And when they started to do the analytics, they started realizing we're servicing things that are not covered under the contract that we're doing for free. So it's that type of thing that you have quicker visibility to. So that's a good question.
Dave, one more question regarding the renewals, right? Without having this kind of analytics, is it fair to say that the renewals are usually guesstimates based on what would be profitable? Because I don't see, without this kind of analytics, how will you base your renewals, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, what I've seen is things go on autopilot with the renewals. Many times the contracts or the primary overriding contract isn't evaluated, and they just occur. They just keep renewing, and they just keep sending out quotes. So what I wanted to do here is evaluate those contracts. Like I said, you could do a mid-year, but before you do your next, you look at your primary agreement that covers everything, that you could take that moment to decide if you need to make some changes to the contract. And we're also showing you, hey, if you make these changes, this is the impact those changes would have had you done them. So that allows you to see how they're going to perform. And since you mentioned that, the additional benefit is once you put that in place in our system, it is a click of a button to kick out one contract or 500 contracts under that primary agreement. It all is a touch of a button. You can mail it, you can email it, and everything respects what you've done at the primary level and keeps the process flowing, which is in many systems, is kind of a cumbersome activity. So that's a good question.
I think really, really informative, Dave, and really interesting how, the profitability can be actually arrived at using this kind of a feature, right? And
Yes.
also how, you could have a seamless experience across platforms with, a proper integration platform. Always great to work with you, Dave. Really thank you on behalf of the audience, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Shalendra.